Lieberman.
Welcome back.
Thank you
and I'm Sue
much.
Herera. Welcome to Money Tonight, the place to be if you're serious about getting your money's worth.
Coming up tonight, if you do business from your home, beware. Nosy neighbors can force you out of business.
Also, if you've been ripped off, David Horowitz will take your calls on how to fight back and win.
And how to get the best deal when you lease a new car. If you know the ropes, you can drive off with a bargain.
But first tonight, if you're one of the 24 million Americans working from home, you're on the leading edge of the new economy. But you may also be breaking the law.
Many communities have extensive regulations limiting work at home, and there are plenty of disgruntled neighbors eager to see those rules enforced. Jerry Cobb has more from our Los Angeles bureau. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Janice and Sue. Okay, let's say you have your phone, your fax, your computer. You're ready to launch your home-based business, right? Not so fast. If you're not careful, your neighbor could turn your dream into a nightmare.
He drives by slowly and watches. When anyone would leave, he would follow them. He followed me. He cut down his shrubbery so that he could peer at us watching the house. And you feel like we're being stalked.
Who was watching Virginia Barnes? A thief? A killer? No, it was her neighbor, determined to put a stop to the travel business she ran from home for 32 years.
I promptly went to work, got photos, watched the activity of the cars, got the license numbers, identified who the owners were, the registered owners of those vehicles, and so I could name them.
The neighbor took his evidence to the Los Altos City Council and proved that Virginia Barnes was violating the municipal code, which allows home-based businesses but prohibits them from having outside employees work in the home. Virginia was forced to move her business into town.
Now I'm having to pay $36,000 a year rent on this office down there that I didn't have to pay before. So there's a financial hardship there. This is money that could be put back into the operation.
Virginia Barnes says it wasn't her business that upset her neighbor, but the second story she added to her house, which was fully approved by the city.
He got up in the meeting and said, "We will get Virginia when she moves back into her house on her business." It was a revenge tactic.
Well, the main thing was property values. There was many vehicles making deliveries, service vehicles, plus the employees' vehicles. We had a cluttering of the streets.
What happened to Virginia Barnes is happening with increasing frequency to home businesses around the country. Zoning laws and other local regulations originally designed to keep noisy, dirty, or illicit firms out of bedroom communities are being used instead by vindictive residents to put their work-at-home neighbors out of business.
You don't like your neighbor, or you don't like their dog barking, or worse, they've complained about your dog barking, and you say, "I'll get them, and I'll call the zoning czar."
Home business authors Paul and Sarah Edwards say they get 2 or 3 calls a week from home businesses under siege. They say most of these cases stem from personal vendettas, and they're causing big problems for the home business sector, which many believe is critical to the economic recovery.
Anything that prevents people from saying, "I am in business, I'm legitimate, I know what I'm doing is serious," prevents them from being as successful as they could be.
Jim Richards is a case in point. He had to pick up and move 70 miles to another community after neighbors shut down his medical supply mail order business for breaking a law that's rarely enforced.
All I can tell you is the inspectors told me, had there not been an official complaint from a neighbor, they would have done nothing but close their eyes, because they know full well there are millions of businesses going on in the city. They get revenue from them. They get taxation from them. They get business licenses from them.
Jim Richards now lives in a community that supports home businesses. Elsewhere, home firms have banded together and overturned outdated or contradictory zoning laws, but there are plenty still on the books, and plenty of neighbors just itching to see them enforced.
Don't dare argue with the neighbor. And they know you're running a business because you'll be out, and they can shut you down overnight.
In other words, say home business experts, keep your customers happy if you want to turn a profit, but keep your neighbors happier if you want to stay in business. Janice, Sue?
Jerry, what do you do if in your neighborhood there are laws against you doing business out of your home?
Well, you can get a waiver or an exception to some zoning ordinances, but that can cost money and often requires the approval of other members of the neighborhood. Something that many home businesses are doing is banding together and having some of these ordinances overturned. Your best bet would be to try and do that.
Okay, thanks very much. Jerry Cobb from Los Angeles.
You bet.
There was some good economic news today. Consumer confidence recorded a strong increase.
At the same time, the Labor Department says workers' wages, salaries, and benefits rose just 3.2% over the last year. So what does this all mean? We have Bruce Francis here to explain it all. Hi, Bruce.
Good evening. Well, Jan, Sue, you know, with the economy improving and a year of low income growth, you might think that it's time to ask for a raise. Think again. Consumers are on a 4-year high on the economy. When it comes to buying plans, they're divided, probably spooked by higher interest rates. They're cautiously optimistic about business conditions, and there are fewer pessimists right now. But the job market, consumers say, is clearly improving.
The job market looks like it's continuing to do very well, so I would expect to see good employment numbers come out and a further drop in the unemployment rate.
But expectations for the future are mixed.
Not so great with all the re-engineering we've had lately.
If they're in the right industry, there are plenty of jobs. People are more willing to take chances and move around, look for more jobs.
Consumer confidence has shot up by 50% since October.
But to paraphrase the old saying, if you're so confident, why ain't you rich? The federal government says that unit costs of labor grew by the smallest amount on record last year, just 3.2%.
That's because companies continue to lay off workers at a faster pace than last year's record-setting rate. So economist Steve Roach says that workers won't translate their newfound confidence into wage demands.
Companies are holding the line on costs. They're still laying off workers. They're not in a position to grant excessive wage increases at this point.
Roach says low labor costs are here to stay, increasing at 1.5% for this year and next. That, of course, is very good news for companies trying to hold the line on costs. But for wage earners stuck in low gears, Roach's prediction is a discouraging one.
Well, even though it may not be a good time to ask for a raise, it seems like there's always somebody in the company who's getting a raise. Who's doing well in all of this?
Well, the name of the game here is productivity, productivity, productivity. And if you've been involved in a downsizing, as many people have these days, you know that's getting your company getting more work out of you for the same money. And those workers who are the most productive, those are the workers who are going to gain in this kind of job market today.
How do you attribute, or what do you attribute the optimism about the job market in general?
I think consumers do see that there are some opportunities out there, but as far as expectation goes, looking ahead, they're not very optimistic. Nevertheless, the Conference Board feels that this is going to show up in lower unemployment numbers. That could wind up being a double bad dose of news for consumers because the Fed might take that signal, raise interest rates again. And that's something that if you're shopping for a mortgage right now, you certainly don't want to hear.
Or a car. Okay,
So
thank you,
encouraging.
Bruce.
Thanks very much, Bruce. Your local bank could soon become a relic of the past. The Senate moved toward final passage of the interstate banking bill that would make it much easier for banks to open branches in every state.
But many local banks fear the bill would allow the big guys to swallow them up, in essence, and some consumer groups say that state consumer protection against high fees and unfair practices could be disrupted. But bankers say states will continue to keep an eye out and claim many small banks will survive by providing better service.
The bill is given a good chance of passing and could become law by the end of this year.
Meantime, if you are a confident consumer and you want to spend some money, how about a new car? We'll tell you how to lease it and save a lot of money when Money Tonight continues.
Tonight's consumer tip is sponsored by MasterCard.
This program is sponsored by MasterCard. MasterCard, it's more than a credit card, it's smart money.
Some credit card companies act like you just touch their cards and suddenly you're transported to a magical fantasy land where everyone speaks French and has 1% body fat. I mean, come on. You use MasterCard at the gas station. Some wonderland, huh? Actually, it is a wonderland. I mean, where else can you fill the tank, get directions, and microwave a burrito all at the same time? And it's smart to use MasterCard because you can keep track of all your spending with one useful monthly statement, which really is ideal. So I guess the gas station is nirvana, only a lot easier to get to. MasterCard, it's more than a credit card, it's smart money.
Attractive. Intelligent. Responsible. Enough about the price. Experience the car it's attached to.
Before you ask the questions, Canon has the answers. Before you knew how many, Canon figured out how fast. We always look to the future, so your office can meet the challenges of today. When you rest to say you can't, Canon says you can. The corporate line of high-volume copiers from Canon. Now, you can. For more information, call 1-800-OK-CANON.
1. We believe building good relationships means treating clients like adults. 2. Adults don't like to be sold. They like to be educated. 3. Brokers serve clients best by speaking their minds. You don't get anywhere with yes men. 4. Being straight with our clients is the simplest way to get things done. 5. I think our clients would agree.
Tonight on Rivera Live. While the physical aftershocks of the big quake may be over, the psychological aftershocks continue to rock Californians. Is the recent devastation an indicator of earthquakes to come? And how do people cope when the earth moves? That's tonight on Rivera Live.
Tonight on Tom Snyder. Coming up on the Monday Colorcast, the inventor of live television at NBC, Mr. Pat Weaver, is here, and from CBS, dun, 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 Dan Rather. That's tonight on Tom Snyder. Tonight, hard-hitting news, hard-hitting talk on Rivera Live.
Caught a severe case of new car fever this spring? Can't afford to own those new wheels? In tonight's Money Talk segment, we're going to take a look at an alternative for your new car blues, leasing, with some help from Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine. There are plenty of tempting advertisements promoting their low monthly car leases as the best bargains on your next set of wheels. After all, leasing vehicles has become a popular option. Last year, over 1.7 million people leased their new cars. Why so many leases? Well, consider this example. To purchase an $11,210 four-door Saturn SL sedan with $1,000 down, a 36-month financing plan would cost you $320 a month. To lease that same Saturn with $1,000 down, it would cost you just $168 a month. That's why Schultz's Ford in Nanuet, New York, has experienced a boom in the leasing business.
Currently, we are running in the high 30s and low 40s as a percent of our total sales. Some car lines now, particularly the Taurus and the Explorer, that are well over 50% short-term leases.
Why is leasing picking up speed with so many drivers?
They will find it very inexpensive to lease from the point of view whereas they can get into a vehicle without having to come up with a large down payment.
That's what makes leasing so attractive. With the average price of a new car hovering around $18,000, many are finding it more difficult to afford a new car. But there is a drawback to leasing. After completing the lease, you return the car to the dealer, and you're stuck without a car unless you had a purchase option to buy. Or you can lease another one. If that doesn't deter you from leasing, then there are some things to keep your eyes on.
They should read carefully to find out if there's any additional cost that is associated with those low payments.
Prices vary from dealer to dealer, so you'll have to shop around.